And let me call on David Sollitt. Are you out there somewhere in Wyoming?
I am out here in rainy Wyoming, and
Who are
I
you? Where
feel
are
a
you?
little
What's your Don story, David?
well. Don actually saved my career before it started, and when I thought it was almost over, actually, I had I was a 1980 grad of the advertising program, and it's funny because I went into Medill having trained for 2 years to be a crusading environmental lawyer, and decided in order to do that I would have to be a lawyer, and that didn't seem like it was a great career move. So I went into advertising and through a story that's too long for here, but and Don was teaching creative, and I always thought that creative was just putting clever words and being funny. And Don really hammered to me the importance of strategy. And as John said, you know, what's the benefit, over and over and over again. So when I graduated from Medill, because I didn't have much background, I didn't really have a job yet. So I was working for John Porter in his first congressional campaign. And I thought, well, maybe I'll be going to DC and off to being a crusading environmental lawyer again. When out of the blue, I got a call from an agency that nobody who hadn't read agency in a couple of months had heard of. It was an agency called Backer and Spielvogel. They were 7 months old. They had just picked up the Miller Brewing Company account as their first account, and they'd never hired an assistant account executive. So, so I went out and I interviewed with them, and I felt a little bit like a seed farmer because they were all New Yorkers. It was a 100% New York agency. And they offered me the job at the end of the day, and the first assistant AE they'd ever hired to help on the Miller High Life business. And my new boss and I had a beer. You can guess which brand it was. And I said, so how is it that you found me? And he says, well, Dean Scaros goes, well, I called this guy named Don Schultz to see if there were any 1980 grads that were still on the bench. And he told them about me. And he said, you had a pretty good grasp on strategy. And then he says, but he really knew what we were looking for, because he also told me that you had attended bar at Arizona State University, which launched me on a 16-year or 20-year career in the beer business, at Backer and Spielvogel with Miller and Miller Lite, Chicago at 16 years on Coors, and then going back to Y&R. And through all those years, Don and I kept trading emails over the years, keeping in touch. And then I got to Jackson Hole and had my own agency here. But I am now on my 4th career, and I was able to interact with Don. This was last year. I wrote him an email. I had my biggest client, which is the one that never pays me, is for a organization down in Africa had a great revolutionary strategy for conservation in Africa called using all women rangers that I thought Don might appreciate. And we had an event in Chicago, and I sent him a long involved email and about the whole thing. And lo and behold, he called me out of the blue on my cell phone, and he says, Dave, this is Don. I go, geez, I know that voice from 40 years ago. And he said, you know, I would love to come out. I didn't realize he'd been sick, but he says, I'm kind of housebound, so I'm not going to be able to make your event, but I sure like to hear about it. And I talked to him about 10 or 15 minutes, and it was like 40 years ago. He asked me the same questions and about strategy and things like that. And when I heard that he had passed, I just said, I've got to sit in on this, because he helped me get into advertising, and he helped me get out of advertising. So it was a great thing. And Heidi, I met you once at a Chicago ad group thing that Don was there in, and he's just been an unbelievable force in my life, even though our meetings had been kind of, shall we say, intermittent.
David, thank you so much. I occasionally try and explain the American West to our many Chinese students. And I recommend that they watch the movie Shane, which was, of course, in Jackson Hole. And over 12 years of effort, 0 of them have followed my recommendation. But thank you for sharing.